Peskies Pest Control. Put your birds on the run. Call 205-470-8161.
Hey, so today on the Peskies Pest Control Podcast, we are talking about termites and how termites act and the destruction that they cause. We actually did a podcast a couple days ago on my buddy Jay, who rebuilt his basically whole daughter's bedroom. So, Travis, let's talk about termites, our inspection process, the damage that we've seen in the last couple weeks. I know we're getting into the summer where we're going to start seeing a lot of swarmers, a lot of phone calls of flying ants. And I say that because that's what happens. Everybody calls and says we've got ants flying all in our house, and it ends up to be a termite swarm. So go ahead. What were we going to say?
Well, and I was going to say that termites themselves cause more damage financially and cost U.S. taxpayers and U.S. citizens more money than most all other tragedies combined every year. You're talking about almost just billions of dollars in damage. They really are the silent killer when it comes to your structure. If left unchecked for a long period of time, they can do an extreme amount of damage. If you've got a crawl space and they're eating the subfloor, you can have an extreme amount of structural damage in the walls and the subfloor. And, you know, unfortunately, they go so undetected until, like you said, spring shows up, weather, humidity, temperature gets just right, and then they come busting out. And then all of a sudden, you know, our phone rings off the hook because people have, you know, discovered that they now have this problem. So it's definitely, it's coming, unfortunately. And, I really do hate to give the news that someone's got termites. I really do. That's one of my least favorite things to tell people is like, hey, you have something that's eating your house, which you know as well as I do. Your house is usually your most expensive investment.
100%. Well, and the thing too is like we find a lot of damage in some of these pictures. Look, pull that one up of the crawl space with the shelter tubes running through the subfloor. And we can kind of talk about that. So right here, you know, we've got some previous termite activity in this house. It was funny because when I did the inspection, the current company that they had no listing of any previous current damage, live termites, anything like that. And then I got in there and, you know, checked the crawl space and started seeing, that was the first thing I saw was a few old shelter tubes running up the cinder block. And then as we started going through the crawl space, I was looking, you know, we're checking the subfloor, we're checking the floor joist, we're checking the foundation wall, we're checking everything, cracks, crevices, all that. And then I started seeing shelter tubes running on between the subfloor, the floor joist, and then actually into the subfloor. And it's always kind of hard to describe to the customer because you're like, hey, we've got some termite activity. It doesn't appear to be live, but then I've done some inspections. I did one a couple of years ago over in Bluff Park or Hoover, and one little bitty spot in the subfloor, and they ended up calling the company that they had, and they tore into the house, and it ended up being like $65,000 worth of damage. I mean, they had gotten the subfloor. They went from the subfloor all the way through the subfloor into the wall, and then behind the kitchen tile. So it was undetected because the tile, I mean, you can't see through tile, and got into the rafters of the roof and literally were eating through the rafters. So, I mean, they were potentially working on, you know, a collapse.
Well, and that's why I always tell people, you know, people ask me, well, do I really need termite coverage? Or,
yes.
You know, and the answer is most definitely yes. Yes, you do. Like I said, let's take in point a car. You can't drive. Oh, let me rephrase that. You're not supposed to drive on public roadways with a car without insurance, right? Because
we're in the state of Alabama.
So. Yeah, exactly. That's why I changed my phrase. We're not supposed to. So if you get out there on the road, you have an accident, God forbid something happens to you, something happens to another driver, for which you've had a collision, or, you know, something bad happens, you're required to at least have liability insurance. If you buy a new car and you're financing that car, you're going to be required most likely by the financer to have full coverage insurance on your car. We drive around in our cars every day because we think that the liability is higher. But then people literally spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase their house. They're, again, much more expensive than your cars.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just go through and you don't have any protection from termites, which, like I said, is typically the number one damager of your most expensive investment throughout the U.S., and you just decide that you don't need it or you're not worried about it. And then, there's always that risk. They go undetected. They get into a spot that you couldn't see. I had a customer that they had a leak in the wall behind their tile in their shower. And when they went to pull off those tiles, that's when they discovered old termite damage, which there again was undetected because it was behind tile. So I wouldn't put myself through the risk of it.
No, and it's a headache. I mean, like I said, going back to, so right there, doing an inspection, they had what they thought were flying ants coming out of the wall. And then of course they had these nice little white, gross looking bugs running around their baseboard. And it did not look like that. When they discovered it, they were kind of coming out of little pinholes. And then of course that's our, as we're tapping, checking it, we do have to kind of do a little bit of destruction to make sure that we do have live termites. Unfortunately, this one, somebody had poured bleach down the windowsill and moved the termites further back into it. So we did have to dig a little bit deeper to find that. And then of course it's a slab home. So went around the backside where the outside of the windowsill, and got a nice little video of that, of actually seeing the live termites go up and down the shelter tube. So,
and let's mention that real quick.
Yeah.
Home remedies. I see all types of things mentioned on social media. People put, what do you do to get rid of this? What do you do to get rid of that? There's this fad going around that Irish Spring soap will rid you of any bug or fly or insect or whatever, or even rodents. There's all these crazy things going around that people say, this worked for me. And this, if you take and pour bleach or some sort of chemical or something like that onto an area affected by termites, will you kill a couple? Yes, you will. But the worst thing is that all you have done is caused those termites to retreat backwards and then find a new place to go. So whereas you may have thought that let's just say that you killed some with bleach or whatever, and several months go by, you most likely still have a termite problem. You have not eliminated the problem. You haven't eliminated anything to do with the colony. You have just forced them to shut off a portion of where they were working and move and find somewhere else.
100%. I mean, we hear diesel fuel all the time, or bleach, or Windex. And like you said, it's going to kill the termite. I mean, they're in the cockroach family. They're soft-bodied cockroaches is what I like to call them. And they're very vulnerable insects. But they're also a colony, so they can communicate. And if they have a bunch of dead termites dying unexpectedly, they can potentially pack up and move to another part of the house, or, to your neighbor's home. I mean, they have a mind, so they're going to go wherever they want to go. But like I said, doing the inspection, found this shelter tube running right up the slab, up under the vinyl and right into the windowsill. And the way, the scientific way that we test we have live termites in a shelter tube is we just pop it open.
Well, before we show the video, I have unfortunately had customers who told me some common misconceptions. I have a house on a slab. I can't get termites.
Yes.
I have a brick house. I can't get termites. And I, in a very nice way, I always try to tell people, I understand why you would think that, but slabs will crack when they settle. It's bound to happen. It's going to happen.
100%.
And what building material is behind the brick?
Well, it's a brick veneer, unless you're in Birmingham on an 1800s, 1900s.
Yeah, and it was literally built out of stone completely, or brick.
Exactly.
But that's what I tell the studs inside your wall that are sandwiched between that brick veneer and that sheetrock are wood.
Well, and they can fit through the size of a credit card, a crack the size of a credit card. So like this right here, I mean, it's nothing for them to get right through up under that. And then they're right into the wood. And like I said, the first thing they got into was the windowsill. And they haven't torn the wall out or anything like that. So this happens to be a rental company that does houses, and they're going to tear the wall down and make sure that it's not, just a total loss on the whole support wall.
Sure. I mean, there's always, depending upon how long this problem has went on, there's always a question about structural integrity.
Yeah, of course.
But let's take a look at this video real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like when we do find these termites. So let's show them the video.
All right, let's see if anybody's home. Oh, there they are. That would be a worker termite. Just one, huh? Oh, there goes another one. Oh, he's not coming out. And of course we got ants too in the house. Oh, there he is. They will build that back by tonight.
I'm glad you said that. That is exactly the truth. When they have a disruption in their tunnels that exposes them to light and heat and helps to start drying their moisture out, they will reconstruct that tunnel in a very, very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, because they dry out very quickly. Because once again, they don't have any. They're not like a cockroach. They don't have that shell. They don't have it. So they have to have. Yep, they have to have constant moisture. So they're going to build that tunnel back. So first of all, it's dark, and second of all, they're going to have the moisture.
Yeah. So kind of in summary, like we already talked about, you have insurance on your vehicle. You have insurance on your life. I mean, life insurance. People have insurance on their pets. People have insurance on devices that they buy online, electronics. I mean, you can't even, shop on an online retailer without something popping up and saying, hey, would you like to insure this for an extra 2 or 3 years? So with all of that being said, why would you not buy some insurance in a way and some peace of mind to make sure that there is proper treatment and proper protection for your most expensive investment, which is your home?
100%. I mean, everyone I've ever talked to that's had termite damage, live termite damage, has always said it was a complete headache. They'd never want to deal with it again, and they would never not have termite protection on their home. And something too to understand, and I think it's a misconception, is that your homeowner's insurance will not cover termite damage. And I actually just found this out the other day because I called. They will not cover rodent or wildlife damage either. So it's not, the termite company is the insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly. And I know here at Peskies, we offer probably one of the best, if not the best, coverages that we can to other people. I've heard of some companies offering $5,000 worth of damage repair, and it doesn't cover paint, it doesn't cover sheetrock. When you have an acceptable passing inspection from Peskies, you get $1 million worth of coverage, and we're going to take care of things like paint and sheetrock. I mean, I don't know why anyone would want a company to come in and fix the studs and leave the studs just stripped down bare with no paint and sheetrock. I'm not real sure.
Well, and that too, and the coverage is very important, but also the inspection process. I went to a house the other day, and they were amazed that I was inside checking the baseboards, checking the walls. I mean, we have an inspection tool that sounds out the baseboards and sounds out the windows and gives us, a feel back from, if it's hollow, if there's like with that picture of the windowsill. That's what I did. I sounded it out, and it just collapsed. And I can't tell you the times where we've gone and tapping on the baseboard and it just caves in, and it looked completely fine. The paint was all intact, but it was eaten all the way up to the paint. And the homeowner had no idea they had termites.
So I mean, I had one a couple months back. The lady had just purchased the house on a recommendation of a friend, had called us out there for pest control and termite coverage. And in my inspection of the house, I was using my inspection tool and came across underneath the bay window, in the kitchen and Crunch.
Yep.
And the entire wall around a baseboard on one section of that bay window was gone. But she said, well, I had another company inspected. They said everything was good. I said, from just looking at it with a flashlight, like a lot of companies do, you would have never found it.
It's just not enough. I mean, the flashlight is a great tool. Don't get me wrong, but you have to probe and you have to kind of poke around. I mean, I've seen them in crown molding before. I mean, it just, you have to sound it out if you don't sound it out. So like I said, we're kind of, going about this, but inspection process is the most important part. So if we're not getting inside, if we're not getting in the crawl space, looking around the outside, sounding the wood on the outside, your windows, if they're wooden, sounding them on the inside, sounding the baseboards, checking the walls with a flashlight, which we have a great video on YouTube. And I believe our website that shows our inspection process. And we've got some other videos that were coming out because we've got this awesome, GoPro setup where we're going to be having some really cool videos of us just crawling around in crawl spaces. So
that's right. So just kind of in closing before we round this out, get termite coverage, keep your most important, most expensive investment covered, and get a reputable company out there to do a reputable, thorough inspection.
Google Peskies Pest Control. Put your bugs on the run. Call 205-470